Hey guys, I'm Samuel the Aviator, and today I'm going to be showing you how I pre-flight my Cherokee 180. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, first of all, I'm not an instructor and this video is not an instructional video. This is merely just an educational, informative video. This is just how I pre-flight my plane. You might want to do it differently and honestly just go over that with your instructor, however he says how to do it, as long as it conforms to the POH of that plane. That should be great. This is just how I do it my way, and maybe you just want to see how a plane is pre-flighted or anything like that. So that's the main reason I'm making this video. As always, if you enjoy this type of content, please give me a like. That helps support this channel and makes me want to do more videos for you. Alright guys, so as always, the pre-flight begins in the cockpit. And you're going to want to make sure you have the necessary paperwork in the plane, which is your airworthiness certificate, registration, your POH, and your weight and balance information. That is in our baggage compartment. We got that in there. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is turn on our master switch, and then we'll turn on our rotating beacon, and then we'll manually look outside and make sure that that is actually working. Then we'll check our fuel gauges down here and just make sure that we have fuel in the tanks, and then afterwards we're going to go outside and dip those tanks to make sure that they are actually indicating correctly. I also turn on my nav lights and check and make sure that the tail light works, because that's what runs our ADS-B, and I want to make sure that bulb's working as well, and most likely our ADS-B will be working, although we can check that on our app as well. And then I also just pull down on the flaps, put on 20 degrees, just so I can check the flaps after I go outside. So that's about it for in here. The only other things that you really want to be listening for is just your normal noises. You'll hear your electric gyro and the turn coordinator spooling up, and that's about it for in here. So guys, I'm going to jump outside real quick, and then we'll do our walk around, and then we'll be back in here again. Alright guys, so I'm outside of the aircraft, and I have my fuel test cup, and I also have my dipstick for the fuel tanks. So the first thing we're going to do while we're outside, I like to start right in this corner, and what I'm going to do is make sure that my baggage compartment is locked, and I know it is because the key runs up and down and it's sealed. Then I like to go down here, and this is part of the reason why I like to put my flaps down. I like to go here and make sure that this connection here is good. It moves, and then I like to pull up on my flap just a little bit, just to make sure that that'll stay, my flap's not going to come up. So then I come over here to my aileron, and I'll make sure that my hinge is on secure, and that my pin is through the hinge here, as well as over here, and all the screws are in. Then I like to move it up and down a little bit just to make sure it moves freely, and also check the yolks inside of the cockpit to make sure that they move as well. And then I also like to check my wingtip here and make sure that all the screws are securely fastened on this, so that's not going to come out. And my nav light here on the end is on securely. Then I come along the leading edge of the wing, make sure everything looks good here, and then I will dip this tank. And we know from the fuel gauge indicators inside the cockpit that this should have around 10 gallons of fuel. So that's what we're going to be looking for. Alright, so this has about 14 gallons of fuel in, which is about right. Normally when this is sitting on the ground, the fuel indicators tend to indicate just a few gallons low, which is good. So they're not telling you have more fuel than you do. And then we're going to come down here, make sure the underside of the wing is clean. We're going to look for any debris. We've got our tie down mount there, nothing's tied to it. Our fuel vent tube is cleared, that looks good. We're going to come over here to our fuel sump. Going to take a sample of fuel, and then I like to hold it up in the light, make sure it's a light blue, there's fuel there and there's no water or sediment. Then I also like to manually look at my strut, make sure it's not leaking any oil, as well as the brake caliper, the brake line, make sure that's not leaking any oil. The tire's full, the brake rotors and the pads are good, and everything's good on the brake. Then we'll come up, make sure our cowling is secured on this side, and then we'll also check our oil. Now I already had this plane running, so it might show a little lower. You might not be able to read it as easy since it was running, but it looks like we have just over 4 quarts, if you can see that. Then we'll come up and check our spinner, make sure all of the screws are on the spinner and the spinner's secured. Then I like to run my hand along the whole leading edge of the propeller, check for any nicks, anything on the propeller, make sure the propeller looks good, look in the engine compartment, make sure there's no mouse nests or anything in there, as well as look at the alternator belt here, make sure that's secured and it didn't come off. Check for any mouse nests on that side. Also make sure our landing light's good, there's no debris or anything, the glass didn't break, the filament is still together. And look at the nose wheel, the nose strut, make sure that's not leaking, everything looks good. And then I'll move over to this side, make sure that the cowling's secured here, as well as drain this sump right here. It's a little tough to do with one hand, we'll see if I can do it. Then I'll hold that up to the light, make sure there's no sediment or any water there. While I'm down here, I'll just come underneath this wing right here and make sure that my strut on this side is good, not leaking, brake line's not leaking, caliper pad and tire look good and everything like that. And then I will drain the sump on this side, check for any sediment, any water, make sure that looks good. And then I'll look at the fuel drain on this side, the vent as well as the tie down, and then our pedostatic tube is over there, make sure that's cleared, nothing got into it. Then I'll come over on this side of the wing on top, and I'll check the fuel here as well. And we got about 14 gallons in this tank as well, so we know we've got plenty of fuel for a short flight. And with this amount of fuel, I'd probably fly 1.5 to 2 hours. That'll leave me about an hour of reserves at least, and I like to have at least an hour for VFR weather. I'll check the stall warning right here, make sure it moves and I can hear it contacting inside. Check this wingtip as well. I'll check the navigation light. Then I'll make sure our aileron moves up and down as well as moves inside of the cockpit. I'll make sure that our make sure our aileron hinge and screws are in secure as well. Then I'll pull up a little bit on our flap again, make sure that doesn't come up. Make sure that this connector here is secured, has a little bit of play. Make sure our antennas are on top of the airplane as they should be. Then I'll come to our stabilator, make sure that looks good. I'll move it up and down, make sure that it moves freely, feels solid. And then I'll check on the trim tab on the back of the stabilator, all of the hinges and pins, make sure that those are in and secured. As well as look inside, make sure that's connected as far as I can see. Then I'll move my rudder just a little bit. You don't want to push on it, it's connected to the nose wheel. but make sure the rudder feels good, make sure the lights up there are secured, they're not broken, the antennas are secured, and then I'll come back around and right back to where I started. So guys, I'm going to hop right back into the cockpit and I'll be with you again in just a second. Alright guys, that's it for how I pre-flight my Cherokee 180. Guys, if you do something differently or you do one thing different, just let me know down in the comments on how you do your pre-flighting, or if there's something you'd like to see me do different, or if there's any video suggestions you have for me to do with my plane. Guys, I really appreciate it. I respond to every comment. As always, if you like the video, please smash the like button for me. That helps me out. So it's a win-win. You like the video, and it helps my channel out. So also subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. You'll get notified every time I release a new video. And I am going to be doing a channel introduction for myself and my channel and what my goals are when I hit 100 subs. Guys, I'm getting close. I believe I have about 40 more to go, 35, 40. So every subscriber helps, and I'm really looking forward to when I can do that introduction when I've got 100 subscribers. I do release a new video every Monday morning, I'm trying to. It's been a little hit and miss lately with the whole coronavirus outbreak, and I've been on a little trip, so I've not been doing as good on that as I'd like to. I've got a video explaining why I'm doing Monday mornings and why I've kind of been absent. I'll put a link to it in the description, as well as try and put it up here in the corner of the video. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, look for new videos coming out very soon from me. As always, I'm Samuel the Aviator, signing off for now.